Good evening, everyone. It's really great to see so many familiar and friendly faces. So my husband Juan is here tonight, so I appreciate him coming, and a lot of my children's friends are here. My daughter is living in California and my son in New York, so it warms my heart that so many people that they know are here tonight. It makes me feel really good. And thank you, Kim, for that wonderful introduction and for inviting me to do this. I really appreciate it. So I am a native San Antonian and a product of Catholic education. My first career was as a high school teacher, and I taught at Jefferson, Clark, and Holmes High Schools here in San Antonio. Do we have any graduates from any of those schools? All right, way to go. Awesome. So that was my first career. And after that, my husband and I traveled to New York, where after he finished medical school, and that's where I had one child, and I also taught while I was there in New York. Then we moved to Boston, and I had a second child. At that point, Juan finished his medical training, and we moved back home to San Antonio, where we've been ever since. So when my son started kindergarten and my daughter was 3, I started law school at the age of 32. And I've been practicing since the age of 35. And I've been practicing for 20 years, and then you can do the math. That's all I'm going to say. So I have been a practicing attorney for over 20 years, and I am really passionate about my work. I was very passionate when I was a high school teacher and really passionate about what I do as a career. It's been very satisfying for me, but I also recognize that I'm always going to be a work in progress. And that's something that I always want to share with you. There's always more to learn in each of our professions. Doesn't matter how many degrees you have after your name. You really need to know that there's always more to learn. So tonight I've been asked to share some practical ways we can live our faith in the workplace. What a great question. So I believe that regardless of your profession or stage of your chosen career, we can live our faith in the workplace. It can be as simple as wearing a cross around your neck, or like Alejandro, show them what you're wearing. You could be wearing an axe bracelet. How many of you guys in this room have an axe bracelet on? All right. See, Audrey has one and a couple of other people. Thank you, Alejandro. It can even be a simple gesture of kindness or respect to a total stranger. So I really love what Father just finished telling us a few minutes ago. When I walk into Broadway Bank every morning, I walk into the bank with a smile and a friendly good morning. And those of you here in this room that have worked with me before, and some of you have actually worked with me for many years, I think you can attest to that. I try to make eye contact with whomever I'm speaking with, simple gestures. Our values, our beliefs will be reflected by our behavior. It's not complicated. It's just what Father said. So our behavior matters day in and day out. The truth is that in every relationship, whether it's personal or professional, what we do has a far greater impact than what we say. You can say you love someone, but unless you demonstrate that love through your actions, your words become meaningless. You can say you want to engage in a win-win business situation, but unless your behavior shows that you really mean it, you're going to come across as insincere. You can say your company puts customers first. You can say that you will follow the rules, that you won't engage in unethical practices, that you will respect a confidence, keep a commitment, or deliver results. You can say all of these things, but unless you actually do them, your words are not going to hold true. So let me share a few of my own personal tools for working in witness for Christ. And I don't have separate ones for how I behave at work and how I behave with my family and friends. These are not tools that I invented or created. These are agreements that I have made with myself with the help of Christ and countless self-improvement and management books that I have read throughout my professional career. And I had to bring some of my props with me, because one thing that I've done my entire professional career is read. And so I brought some of my favorite. So my first agreement with myself is, be impeccable with your words. Talk straight. Ask yourself, what are the things that keep me from talking straight? Is it fear of the consequences? Fear of pain? Fear of being wrong? Fear of hurting others' feelings? Is it a desire for popularity? A lack of courage? It might be a challenge to live or work in an environment where people don't talk straight. So become aware of your conversation. In the middle of your interaction, stop and ask yourself, am I talking straight, or am I spinning things? Involve other people. Tell them, I'm really trying to improve my ability to talk straight in my communication with others. Would you be willing to help give me feedback, to let me know how I'm doing in my relationship with you? When we involve others, it makes it easier for us to change. It helps us see our current situation and our progress. When it comes to our own behavior, we often have blind spots, things that we can't see, but others can. Getting feedback helps us to see those blind spots. My second tool, demonstrate respect. I firmly believe that you can judge a person's character by the way he treats people who can't help him or hurt him. In many cultures, particularly Eastern cultures, this behavior is highly valued as evidence of a person's good upbringing. As a result, the casualness of much of the West, that's us, is considered to be abrasive or rude. Understanding a cultural difference such as this becomes critical in today's global economy. I read a story about the business student who did well in her final exam until she came to the last question. What is the name of the person who cleans your dorm? She was astonished. How could she be expected to know the answer to that? And what in the world did it have to do with her business degree? Finally, she asked the professor if the question really counted on their final exam. Indeed it does, he replied. Most of you dream about being the president and the CEO of a successful company, but success is a team effort. A good leader takes nothing for granted and recognizes the contributions made by everyone on the team, even those people who appear to do the most insignificant job. Just remember, it's the little things that count, and remember the end result of kindness is that it draws people to you. I have to say that whenever I received a handwritten thank you from someone whom I have interviewed for a job position, that person's resume stayed on the top of my list. How many of you have written a handwritten thank you note after you've been interviewed? Great, great. A third and practical career tip. Get better and always do your best. One of my current favorite quotes of the day is, "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." With the pace of today, of change in today's world, if you're not making a conscious effort to get better, you're not just standing still, you're getting further and further behind. You're becoming less and less relevant because those around you are moving rapidly ahead. So, how do we get better? Seek feedback. Whenever I buy something on Amazon.com, Have any of y'all ever bought anything from Amazon.com? Okay. I am asked to rate every order I place. And I don't know, it's just because I always fill out these surveys. So I fill out one and I get another one, but I'm always being asked to rate them. So ask your employer or your supervisor, what can I do to help you? How am I doing? What would you like to see me improve on? When people see you taking their input seriously, it not only inspires trust in you, it creates an environment of growth and change. How else do we grow and get better? It's going to be by learning from our mistakes. That is a big one. The next time you make a mistake, rather than agonizing over it, reframe it as feedback to yourself. Practice being introspective and identify the ways you can improve your approach to get different results next time. My husband Juan has been training to qualify for the Boston Marathon for over 20 years. By constantly asking and receiving feedback from coaches, running books, and other running buddies, and putting into practice their suggestions, I am happy to say he is qualified to run the Boston Marathon in 2016. So, always do your best, and remember, your best is going to change from moment to moment. It's going to be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick, and under any circumstances. Simply do your best, and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. I have a final 2 challenges for all of us. Think about becoming a mentor for others. Often offer your time and commit to listen first to your family, friends, and coworkers. To listen first means not only to really listen, to genuinely seek to understand another person's thoughts, feelings, experience, and point of view, but to do it first before you try to diagnose, influence, or prescribe. When we listen first, we get insight and understanding we would not have had. We make better decisions, we show respect, we give people psychological air. The impact on trust is amazing. Generally speaking, as long as a person is communicating with high emotion, he or she does not yet feel understood. A person's not going to ask for advice until he or she feels understood. To offer advice too early will usually only stir up more emotions or cause someone to simply ignore what you say. Think back over your interactions with others during the past week, both at work and at home. Think of a time when you did or did not listen first. What were the results? What would have been the results if you had behaved differently? So the next time you're in a conversation, stop and ask yourself, have I really listened to this other person? Do I really understand how he or she feels? If not, simply stop and do it. Set your own agenda aside and really focus on understanding the other person's point of view before you share your own. Finally, my last challenge, find time to volunteer in our community. You do not have to leave San Antonio to find a place and a cause that you can be impactful to. Last week, I had the opportunity to help serve over 450 meals one evening to adults currently receiving services at Haven for Hope. I arrived at 4 p.m. and left at 7. I drove there in my nice air-conditioned car and got to come home to my very nice air-conditioned home. I cannot change their situation. But I spent a few hours smiling, touching, greeting, helping, and serving those who, for whatever reason, are mentally and physically incapable of leading a life like mine. I said to myself several times that night, there but for the grace of God. So remember, we are blessed. We are fortunate. We are here tonight. So I'm just going to wrap it up and tell all of you that I promise to stay on schedule, and I hope there's some questions. I did bring a few of my favorite books. Some of them are management books. Some of them are just self-help books. And then I also brought a little handout of like tips. And if anybody wants to take that, you're more than welcome to do that. So thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it.
Questions? We have time for questions. Christina.
Yeah. Actually, I have.
Can you stand up?
Yeah. If you have an example where in your career, at any point in your career when you were a teacher or at Catholic Charities, even in your current job, where something difficult and overwhelming was happening and how your faith helped you see it through, and if there were any difficulty with your religion and making a decision related to your job, if there was any contrast.
Okay, these are some great questions. So Christine has asked me if, in my experience, in my various careers, teaching at Catholic Charities and now at Broadway Bank, if I've come across a situation where I struggled in reference to my faith versus what I'm supposed to be doing, or for a client, that's kind of a complication. Yeah. As an attorney, I'm dealing with people's problems every single day. I mean, that just goes with the territory. So very often what I have found that helps me is I actually do pray quite a bit at work. I really do. It settles me. I know that I have to give advice, which is what I do on a daily basis, not just to people I supervise, which I supervise a lot of people at my new job too. For some reason, after 14 months, I'm already supervising about 10 people. But I have to listen. I follow the golden rule. And if I follow the golden rule, which is to treat others, I'm usually at a safe place. And I don't really think too much about whether I'm living my faith. It's all about doing the ethical thing, following my conscience. If there's times that because of my faith that there are lots of things that we can do legally that maybe I don't agree with based on my faith, but those are going to be clients that I might refer to someone else, or I'll be truthful with them. One of the things that's always helped me is being truthful with a client and letting them know these are your options and letting it be their decision. I try not to judge. I can't. I mean, I wouldn't get very far if I did judge a client. And a lot of the clients that I've worked with, many of the clients are not Christian, or faith just doesn't come into it. I need to feel like I can give them the best advice and stay within my own ethics. So I've always done that. I haven't really struggled that much because I feel like I have to just be truthful with them, and I always will be ethically. And as far as being an attorney, I have to tell them what the law is and what their options are. So I have been really blessed, I think, because I've just always done that. And sometimes clients don't want me. I remember when I was doing family law, sometimes I would have clients who would want me to help them not do the right thing or the ethical thing, and I actually would tell that client, I'm not the right attorney for you. I have had that experience where I've had to tell a client, I'm probably not the best one for you. And I would tell them why. So that was, you made me think back a little bit. You made me think back. I have had clients that I've had to not basically tell them that I wasn't the right attorney for them. And they were fine with that. Yes, sir.
I'm blessed to run Catholic Radio here in San Antonio. We're a nonprofit, so I have a wonderful opportunity to look at all the books, the bulletins, and look for businesses that we can appeal to for support. But before I go after them for any kind of awareness of Catholic radio, I do a little bit of investigating and to see if they're doing things on the up and up, if they're Catholic owned, if they're doing anything, maybe supporting maybe not so Catholic organizations like Planned Parenthood or Susan G. Komen or whatever is out there. Have you faced something there with Broadway Bank that you've had any challenges with?
I am so lucky. Broadway Bank is a family-owned Catholic family. We have Bible study at Broadway Bank. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So
have you run into anything that may not be on the up and up, and if so, how do you deal with it? Your Catholic Bank?
I think I had more issues at Catholic Charities than I had at Broadway Bank. Time out. Felicia said time out. No, I don't want to be redundant or repeat myself, but we had so many clients at Catholic Charities that are not Catholic. The vast majority of our clients, believe it or not, when we worked at Catholic Charities, are not Catholic. They just needed social services. And so it was easy to help the refugees. It was easy to help people who had been trafficked. It was really easy to help that senior, those people at Catholic Charities needed our help, and they needed legal help. And I wish Juan Castro, he was here earlier, he was our immigration attorney. So we were very ethical, and we followed our ethics. And there were times that we had to do things that the clients didn't like or did not want us to do, or we couldn't help them in the way they wanted to be helped. Thinking back, we had times where we couldn't help that client because of their behavior, because they were not being ethical, maybe toward their family or toward their situation. So it's a day-to-day choice that we have to make. And I've been blessed that I'm pretty strong. I'm a tough cookie. So I'm able to look people straight in the face, in their eyes, and tell them, this is not right what you're asking us to do, and this is why we can't do it. And I'm sorry. So I've been fortunate that I've been able to get away with that, and I've always told anyone who's hired me that I'm a straight shooter and that I will never compromise either my license or my ethics. So I think when you're very transparent, I think people respect that. So I've been fortunate that I've been able to do that. Felicia.
What do you do to renew yourself, spiritually?
Great question. This renews me. Just being forced to think about myself and my career and my faith renews me. Retreats, certainly. Don't ever stop going on retreats for the rest of your life. You can never go on too many. And I do a lot of reading. For myself, it's a lot of reading and different kinds, spiritual books, as well as my husband likes to pray the rosary. That's what he does quite often, and I'll join him, but he does a better job at it than I do. But prayer, I think, praying with people that I care about, that's one of the things that I've enjoyed. I've prayed with Kevin, we've prayed together, so find people and you pray with them, and it's amazing. It's pretty cool. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for your really great and inspirational advice. I really appreciate that. And I'm curious, at 32, you decided to move into law. I'm curious about what kind of law you practice.
Okay.
And how did you discern, was that just your motivation that you felt like aligned with God's will for you? Did you discern God's will in your process of advancing your professional goals? How did that work for you?
I loved being a high school teacher. I loved it, and I'm probably going to go back to teaching again someday. I wanted to empower myself. It was about my own. I wanted to be an example. I had a 3-year-old little daughter. I had a lot of nieces and nephews. I'll be quite frank with all of you. My parents did not have any kind of higher education. It was really important to me that I be an example, particularly to women, and particularly to my daughter. So when I plunged into law school with a 5 and a 3-year-old, I was terrified. But, through prayer, but also through a lot of good friends and family, I did it. And it was the best thing that I ever did. It wasn't a hard decision for me because I was yearning to have a career that I could help more people. And that, I can say that really, and quite frankly, the respect that a law degree gives. That, I'm being quite frank with you on that.
In the back. Do you have a question?
This gentleman
That was
in
your
front.
question?
What was your?
What's your favorite self-help book and why?
Oh, I have so many, but I do have a favorite. It's a little one. The Four Agreements. And I talked how many of you have heard about this book? A couple of you? Awesome. So, and Felicia, poor Felicia. Felicia and I worked together for so many years, and she can tell you that every week we were reading a different book at work. We had to, because that's how we improved. But this has been real critical for me personally and professionally, and it's just 4 agreements that I make with myself. And I've shared a couple of them in my talk tonight with you. Not all of them, but I shared them. But this has been a lifesaver for me. The best thing in here, the chapter that I love the best, that I did not talk about with you guys, is called Don't Take Things Personally. That's a great one. That's a great one. Especially, even as an attorney, and I'm in the courtroom every week, and I love doing that. I love going to court. It's still a man's world there. So I've learned not to take things personally. When judges have said things to me, or other, when I'm called sweetheart, or things like that. It still happens. So I don't take it personally. I flip it around. I end up getting away with a lot of stuff, so I take advantage of it. I'm very calculating. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
From a professional woman and being in the working world, how would you say that you find a balance between your personal life, your family life, and your career?
Why did I know that I was going to get asked that question? It's a struggle. It's a struggle. There's no doubt about it. And when you have a wonderful partner, then it's easier. And I've been blessed. We've been married 33 years, so I've been blessed. And Juan and I got married when he was in medical school, and I was teaching. So when he started his practice, it was I felt like it was my turn. And that's another reason why I started law school. It's like I had helped him and I had supported him on his career. And I felt, I'm not done yet. So you're going to help me. And he did. He did. But it is not easy. I'm not going to kid you. But it is a balancing act. And there's going to be days where you're pretty overwhelmed. But it's very doable. It's very doable. So as the kids got older, I don't think it got any easier whatsoever, because their issues changed. So trust me, when my kids were in high school and older, that was very challenging for me to be there for them. But you prioritize, and we've always prioritized. Family came first. And one of the things about my career that I chose is that I really could decide. As the kids got older, I kind of worked more and more. I had my own practice for a while, and that was good. I worked from 7 to 3. And then as they got older and started college, then I really went at my career hard. And I'm glad I did. Yes, sir.
As a professional who is continuing to grow in your journey, what would you say, how would you approach a fellow professional who has become stagnant in their growth?
That's what I'm facing right now. I didn't have a lot of banking experience when I got hired at Broadway Bank. I had a lot of legal experience, and that's why they hired me, because of what I was bringing to them, what I was bringing to the bank. And there have been people that have been there 20, 15, 30 years. So I am slowly challenging them. I really am. And getting them to think. I'm a very friendly person, and I'm very approachable, but I go out of my way with pretty much everyone that I work with to try to get to know them. And so it's baby steps. So that's what you have to do, is not be a threat, because I don't know more than them. They are very experienced, and maybe they're complacent. We all get complacent. So I'm kind of the new kid on the block there, where I'm at, in the department that I'm in. So I'm from the outside coming in, so I'm seeing things maybe a little differently because they've been there for 20, 30 years already. So very gently and very humbly is kind of how you'd be surprised, Felicia can tell you, I would have a library at work, so people walking by would see me, and I'd be like, oh, have you seen this? And you want to borrow it? I mean, there's things, let me help you. No. There are things you can do. You can be subtle. You can be subtle. But I love doing it, and it's amazing how, if you're not a threat, how people will be open to it.
Do you have any questions? Monica will be here afterward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.